All right. Good morning, guys. We're live. September 11th. It's always a special day, especially for our family since we are from New Jersey. And Bob, you worked on Wall Street and you were in New York when the 9/11 tragedy happened. So always just a weird day in terms of
Wild, that
waking
was
up.
19 years ago. I remember that. I mean, it seems like that long ago, but I remember that to a T, like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I remember we had a intern in the office at the time from Germany, and we were watching TV when the plane set, and he said, "Did anybody see that?" And everyone. That's what we were all just honed in, and I just remember this guy from Germany was the one who pointed it out to everybody. It's like,
yeah, I remember being
in my head.
Modern European history class, Miss Leddington, and there was an announcement over the loudspeakers as though it was like a walk in the park. They were like, "Oh, as everybody's aware, the Twin Towers were hit." And it's like, what do you mean, as everyone was aware? No one knew this. That was crazy.
Crazy
It really
time.
was. Crazy times. Probably never experience anything like that again in our lifetimes. As far as,
This year's been a different
Yeah.
chaos.
But to talk stock market, which is what this show
What
is
is
all
going
about.
on with NLOK this morning?
I don't know much, but I did see that they were selling off pretty hard this morning. I didn't even see news.
Kramer hasn't been eating
anyway.
his wheaties lately. He's starting to have some duds.
Yesterday, well, yeah, I mean, since the sell-off.
Hello, Dan.
In a rut. Nice.
What stock did you say? NLOK?
Yeah, either way, I'm at to tell Zillow. I loaded up harder on the dip the last couple of days, and it's up big now. That stock is unbelievable.
NLOK is a play on the at-home security with people working at home and taking classes.
Yeah, I own a good amount of NLOK. I was up nice on it until this morning.
Well, I'm sure something will come out about it. But yeah, yesterday was kind of an interesting day. It was a pretty good morning, and then it just was a sell-off. And then it kind of, I had to get on a plane, but before I took off, when I was just looking at where the levels were at, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, at least some of the sectors touched the lows that we had last week and then immediately bounced off of them. Not everything, but like the S&P touched that 3340 or 3330 number, and as soon as it hit it, which was the low point last week, it immediately bounced off of it. So I don't know if there's a lot of support there or if that's a sign that maybe we're even going lower. Dad, what were your thoughts on yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty ugly day. We talked about watching the main stocks to see how they would react, and I had a couple orders out there to sell Tesla, and I kept canceling them to just sell it short. And then I kind of just lost my way and missed the big move, so I didn't even bother doing it. But Apple and Microsoft went negative, and you could just feel the whole market deflate. So those are the names. You have to just keep an eye on those major names to see which direction the market's going to go here today. The gambling stocks were just absolutely on fire. Even into the weakness, they held up, and they're higher today. One stock we never mentioned on the gamblings, and I'm sorry we missed it, is William Hill, which is a UK bookie who's got a lot of WIMHY. And they're in Vegas now, and they're open in Colorado for business. And I think they're going to make big inroads into this online sports betting, because they've been around for decades in the UK and know this game better than just about anybody. So it's an interesting.
What's the ticker?
WIM as in Mary, HY.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this company.
Yeah, and when I used to go to work in London, whenever I would go over there, you would see a bookie, William Hill, on just about every corner. And I think they envision that kind of activity here. It's kind of like OTB in New York on a grand scale.
But when you say you envision that activity here, or they do, what in terms of what, in person or digitally, like with DraftKings and Penn?
I think they would like to have an in-person bookie in addition to they have online.
I don't see, like, that doesn't really make much sense to me with the world we live in now. Why you would have
today, but at some point, I'm sure they're going to do that. They have locations in many of the states that have legal gambling,
like off-track betting. You're talking about, like,
yeah, they do horses. They do horses too.
Interesting. So, are they looking to come in here?
What happens in these little bookie shops in London? All the friends get together, kind of like a Starbucks, and they're all betting on the horses together. It's kind of old school in a way.
I mean, I think that's where DraftKings and Penn are heading, like we've talked about with peer-to-peer.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
So you have to ask yourself, that's interesting to talk through if you're a DraftKings and Penn. I know Penn already owns casinos, but are you going to see that being an entertainment hub where you have people gathering and betting together for community building?
Well, that's how it's always been. People used to go to the track.
And people are yearning for that again when you throw out all this isolation, the pandemic. Maybe those are things that are going to come back. That's interesting to think about.
And Barstool was already taking steps in that direction last year, not fully in that direction because they hadn't launched their betting app yet. But when you looked at like what the Pardon My Take podcast hosts were doing, how they would have like a weekly live show at a Buffalo Wild Wings around the tri-state area where people can come and like hang out with them. That's only going to get way bigger when it's
and
like,
we saw that down with Blake Street Tavern too, in a way, with like the watch parties. There's no doubt there. That's why, I got to get back on these gaming stocks.
Yeah, and what's interesting, William Hill is offering in Colorado, I don't know about the other legalized gambling, is if you open an account and put $250 in it, they give you a free $500 bet.
They had something similar on mansion.com. I'll never forget Greg Chory hitting me up. He's like, hey, man, you get a free $1,000 bet on this website. I thought it was bullshit. It wasn't. Never forget Steelers Dolphins Monday night game. I made $1,000. It was you had to risk the bet. They'd refund you fully if you lost it. I thought the game would be fixed. I won the bet. Phenomenal promotion.
Nice.
So anyway, I'm out of my gambling stocks now because I sold all my DraftKings yesterday into the strength. And now I'm just saying to myself, there's got to be levels to get back in these things because it's been a long time since I haven't had a gambling stock on my pad.
So what levels are you looking at?
I really haven't looked yet, but I'm just staying clear until these things wash themselves out now.
I like it.
They've just been on fire. Football season this weekend started last night, and to me, that should be the pinnacle for short term. But that could be totally wrong. We'll have to see how it plays out. But that's enough for gambling.
And then Peloton had dominant earnings. I was a little wrong about my prediction on them yesterday, but only wrong to an extent because I made $10 per share off a short play yesterday because I wasn't wrong that they had a blow off top from analysts trading them, and then they went to 97 and sold off all the way down to the mid 80s during the day. So if you caught that trade, good job. And I closed out my entire short before the close because I'm not holding a trading position into an earnings call. But they apparently profited this quarter, which I think surprised a lot of people. And I think they upgraded their guidance like crazy. And I think it just shocked a lot of people with like how much Peloton's really killing it. So
I don't know why anyone was shocked.
Well,
when they come out.
I honestly expected exactly that to a T with Peloton. I think they are and have plenty more room to run. I was telling you guys that before earnings. I'm not in it.
What helped them a lot was the down move yesterday as far as the stock goes, that set it up beautiful for a blowout earnings.
Well, we always talk about that too with like a stock going into earnings. If it runs up too much, it's a problem, and that was obviously healthy. So that's a good thing to think about.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, if you look at where Peloton's at right now, maybe it's slightly higher than the day's highs yesterday. And yesterday had the movement for the earnings, and then people took profits, and now it's right back. And we'll see what happens today with Peloton. I still think that this stock has run up out of control. But Dad, let me ask you a question, just a technical question, because I'm always, at least my thought process is like when you see a negative divergence with the RSI and the stock still going higher, but the RSI is going lower, that's often a sign that there's a top coming and that you're going to see a quick turnaround. And the reason I ask is because, I've been following Fiverr closely, and Fiverr now is just at all-time highs, barely, but they're there. Like this morning, they might have hit it yesterday. I wasn't around in the afternoon, but they're at 128 right now. And when I look at their chart, it's a prime example of a negative divergence situation where even going all the way back to, basically early June or call it late May, that's when it started. And then they had their first peak, and then the second peak was August. And now this is the third peak. Each time it's been on a lower RSI. Is that something to look at, or am I overthinking that a little bit? Because from my vantage point, that kind of means that this rally maybe is a one that you could short, and this isn't necessarily a real new high. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah, look, it's everything is something to look at when it comes to just looking at charting. But you have to overlay that with the fundamentals. And is there something specific going on here that created this new high? And short term, it might be a blow off top, but something caused this thing to make it, an all-time high. And you're telling me, was there news out on this thing, or?
There's been no news, and don't get me wrong, Fiverr's a great company, and I think when they went public, it was not necessarily, we weren't in this pandemic, and they probably weren't doing nearly as well as they're now doing, and I think they have a really good business model. Do I think the stock has run up like crazy? We've talked about this, and I know they did kind of have that dip, but no, there's no new news. I think it's just a low volume stock that,
Yeah. Look, this is not a bad chart pattern when you get consolidation after a big move up. And I would say that top that it hit yesterday wasn't that strong, looking at the chart. But, if you could pick this thing up down at 115, or, if you get lucky and can get it at 110, it's a nice looking chart long term. I would not buy it up here on this so-called breakout to a new high.
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking the opposite. I've been kind of lately, at least with the trading, I've been having more success when I fade stocks once they've had these pops that are...
Well, especially in this kind of market. If you have stocks that are making new highs now, you don't have the strength behind it when the market in general is weak.
Yeah.
So, you almost have to change your strategy. Like buying breakouts, I don't think makes a lot of sense.
I've been actually fading breakouts. That's been my strategy this week, where yesterday...
That's where you have to adjust what you do on a day trade, right? Because if the market was up 300 or 400 every day, then you buy the breakouts and not even blink.
Yeah, or buy the dips. Yesterday, all my trades were short, even though I was shorting stocks that were rallying. But I was talking to Mike about it. Even Penn, I was shorting Penn when it would have two breakouts, then on my way down, which is inevitable. It's like I was explaining to Danny's sister's fiance, who's an engineer, how when you look at a stock, it's sometimes not really that much different than when you're looking at a house or a tower. And when it goes really up, eventually it needs levels that are going to hold that move up. And you almost look at it the same way as a house or a tower, where every move up needs to eventually
good analogy on it. It's a
Yeah,
good
so
analogy.
when I
You need
start
a real
looking,
good foundation on a stock to give you the confidence for it to go up, just like a house.
yeah, so now I just look at all my charts like I'm looking at a house, and if it doesn't have a frame, whether it's a barn style house or a tower, no matter what kind of house it is, it needs to have some sort of levels of frames, or else it's just going to come crumbling down at the first sign of an earthquake.
Yeah, the
And
other
that's
the
my
other thing in a weak market, if you're looking at a short strategy, is to find weak stocks that have an up day or an up move during the day, and those are good shorts. They're better shorts usually than the strong stocks that look like they're getting weaker. Like
yeah,
Penn.
that makes sense.
Penn is a tougher stock to short until it starts showing some weakness. Obviously, you can still make money because the market's so weak, but I rather look for a stock that's been weak recently.
Yeah, Penn's going to be an interesting one to follow today, because yesterday was one of the first times in a while Penn didn't have some sort of flush out at the open where you had like a chance where it was in the red and it just was showing all day. And, it wouldn't shock me if you see that stock within the first 30 minutes of open down 1-2% and then immediately bounce back depending on what the market does. So if I was tuning in today, I would probably be tuning into Penn pretty hard. And Mike, Beyond Meat, good day for them yesterday.
Yeah, what a move, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know I've been big on them.
Why didn't you tell us to buy the stock, for God's sake?
I'm telling you, it's like Tesla in the early innings. If you're not in Beyond for our viewers, then you should stop watching this show if you're buying stocks and not listening, because it's just, I don't know what you're doing. It's really, I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. And even when you look at their competitor Impossible now getting into a new production site, this whole thing is taken off. It's not a fad.
Maybe they're going to start making electric cars out of non-beef.
I mean, it's the environment play. That's why I'm so bullish on it. It's more than the food itself. It's the impact of the alternative protein.
Listen, long term, you're probably right with Beyond. Short term,
I'm guaranteed right with cryptocurrency. It's the same thing with Beyond. You know me with convictions. When I have an intuition about something, odds are it is dead on. When have I been wrong with intuition? Besides common sense again, when I fell with the bugles on that hike. That was the only time.
Wait, what?
Remember common sense again with the bugles in Arizona? Dad, you remember that hike we went on when we were kids, when I fell with the bugles? Common sense again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
How do you not, of all people, the prankster who loves instigating, not remember that? You used to constantly give me shit about that.
I don't even know what you're talking about with bugles.
Dan, do you remember that?
Not at all.
Wow.
I thought you were talking about when you bet with that guy in Vegas instead of just walking 20 feet to the bookie. And he basically, yeah. But I will say Beyond is another stock that gives you the day trading action, no doubt. I mean, I'm not trying to have a conversation about whether long-term it's a good stock or not. It sounds like you've done your research and they've been doing well, so good job on that. Short-term, it's a good day trading stock, especially on days like yesterday when we have these pops. So what do you guys...
The bottom line is with this day trading is we keep talking about the same stocks. If you are so familiar with a stock like Danny is with Penn and Mike is with Beyond, just stick with the names you know, and you could pick levels all day long. I remember there was one guy on Wall Street that used to only trade Royal Dutch. That's all he did for a living.
I love where his head's at.
Over 25
I've been doing that with Zillow. Literally, it's like I could just retire and hang out.
You don't need
talk to Richard
the market. You need one or two names and just stick with those names.
That's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. That's life. Most of your results come from 20%.
Well, what I'm talking about, though, is day trading a particular name, not a long-term portfolio. But it's much easier if you're familiar with one or two names than start oh, look at this one. This one's up 10. I should get involved.
Mhm.
That's where you start getting in trouble.
Yeah, go-to stock. I've been day trading now for a while, and more just scalp trading, but NIO, NIO, which is one of these electric vehicle companies. And again, long term, I don't know how I feel about the electric vehicle space in general. I mean, I think it's here to stay, but these companies in the run-up they've had, I don't know if NIO is going to be a great company, but they definitely have great charts for day trading with massive amounts of volume. I don't understand what the volume situation is with some of these electric vehicle stocks where every day you're talking 450 million shares traded, and it's insane. I don't it's honestly crazy. Like a stock like has the same volume as Apple. It's
Yeah, well, the other one is that Nikola, NKLA, which GM just invested in, and then Hindenburg, which always comes out with extremely negative research on companies. That's their job. They basically work for a hedge fund somewhere, and the guy gets short the stock, and then he comes out with this big negative research piece. My guess is that the research piece that came out was written before GM made their investment, and they still came out with it. This stock is back to where it was before GM did anything. So I don't know. Either GM is getting duped big time, which is possible.
I think so.
Or, this stock is one of the best ever waiting to go up, and it doesn't feel that way.
Didn't the research report almost hint at like a little bit of fraud and some shadiness?
No, a lot of fraud, but that's what Hindenburg does. They basically take a company, tear it apart. I mean, if they wrote a research report on Apple, you would think there's fraud there and Apple's going out of business. That's just the nature of what they do. Hindenburg. Who names their research Hindenburg?
Makes me think of Breaking Bad.
That's literally what I keep thinking of every time Dad says it. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't quite get a pulse on this stock because I don't really like the story at all. And when they got that pop with the Ford news or with the GM news, I thought when it hit 53 pre-market, it would have been a great short. I just didn't really have the courage to step in front of a stock that was up 45 to 50%. And I've never done anything with Nikola, but I don't like the story.
Yeah, I just can't understand how GM could go all in on this thing like it did. And it's not real. They must have something.
Well, no, I'm sure it's real, but like it's real almost like in the form of a prototype, it seems like, where even when you heard the guy talking about the situation with GM and they're like, okay, so are you ever going to have your own factory, ever make your own cars? And he's like, no, like definitely not. In a way where it's just like, well, what is your company then? It's just, I don't know. That's definitely going to be an interesting story to follow. That might be one of these Netflix scams that we see one day down the road. It seems so often.
Yeah, I kind of think Tesla initially got hit hard on this Nikola story because they said, oh no, Tesla's got this new competition. And Tesla's been acting really well since Nikola started going back down.
I mean, it's Tesla. Yeah, I've been waiting to get in it.
Well, no, but I think people actually thought for 5 minutes that they had competition from this company.
That's funny. Elon Musk having competition.
Yeah, apparently Nikola's had a truck demo where the electric truck was driving down the road, but they didn't have an engine in it or anything. There was no battery in it. They just put it on top of a hill and rolled it down a hill.
Are you kidding?
That's what the Hindenburg research said.
So, I mean, look, when you see that guy get interviewed, he doesn't strike me as a Elon Musk type at all. He strikes me as a guy that's gonna have a lot of issues with.
Yeah,
very hard pressed to find Elon Musk types.
Speaking of Elon Musk, he got on Robert Reich. I love that thing you sent, Mike. I mean, that was beautiful.
Oh, from Paul's Insta story, the Twitter thing with
yeah. I mean, Robert Reich used to be Secretary of the Labor. He's a professor at Berkeley now, and he was criticizing Elon Musk for not paying his employees enough.
That was great. Yeah. Dan, did you see that tweet yesterday?
Yeah. What did he call him?
I'll read it to you guys right now.
It was great.
So Robert Reich says Tesla forced all workers to take 10% pay cut from mid-April until July. In the same period, Tesla stock skyrocketed and CEO Elon Musk's net worth quadrupled from 25 to over 100 billion. Musk is a modern-day robber baron. Musk responds, all Tesla workers also get stock, so their compensation increased proportionately. You are a modern-day moron.
And that guy, I don't know if you've seen Robert Reich interview, but every time he speaks, I would say I agree with less than 0% of anything that he ever says.
So why is he even on air? Like, why do they give him the time of day?
He's just so far out there on the left that the left doesn't even like him. But that's another story. Anyway, side note on Elon Musk.
I love how Musk just has no problem tearing people up like that. It's like, hey, God, you want to be in my universe? No problem. Here's what's happening.
So, quick update on the futures right now. Definitely not as strong as they were an hour ago. It looks like Dow right now is set to open like up 85, S&P up like 15, and NASDAQ up like 44. Definitely going to be an interesting day. What is there anything specifically you guys are looking for? Dad, give us an update on the energy sector. I know you're keeping a close eye on that.
What sector?
Energy.
Energy. Energy is just not in the limelight. What can you say about it? It's at some point it's going to work, and it's not working. I mean, it's been a disaster to be in any of these names. And at the same time, you feel like if you sell them, you're going to miss the boat.
I know the day I sell BP, they're going up 20%. That's why I keep holding it. I just can't get rid of this thing.
I mean, you want to have some energy in your portfolio, but, obviously it's been a big dud.
BP and BA are just two stocks that I don't know if it's luck or what, but they have been.
What about gold and crypto right now? Let's do a quick update on that. I don't know what either is that.
On which one?
Bitcoin and gold.
Bitcoin's at 10,300.
I think gold is interesting, but not dramatically interesting. I think if we're going to have inflation, gold's going to work, and Bitcoin will do okay if the stock market's doing okay, because people will throw something at it. That's the only reason.
Keep using that narrative in your head about Bitcoin. Whatever makes you sleep well at night.
Well, that doesn't even enter my mind to sleep.
I know, which is shocking. Well, will enter your mind in a few years when you're like, how did I miss that boat? Jeez.
Yeah, what are your current thoughts on Microsoft? Because I know you've been keeping a close eye on them, and they're kind of, I don't want to say right back to where they were last week, but all right, well, let me rephrase that. So I saw something this morning that Trump came out and said, no matter what, TikTok has until the 15th to sell, which is literally 4 days from now, and if not, they're banned. So I don't know if that's like a line in the sand where that's it. TikTok either is going to get sold or they're not going to exist anymore.
Well, I mean, Microsoft is acting like they're not going to get it, but the stock is lower now than it was before they even announced the TikTok story. Microsoft is basically in the same place it was in June right now. So,
and I mean, I think Microsoft's the type of company where if they don't get TikTok, it's a buy the news type of thing. Where if there's a sell off, great. Microsoft doesn't need TikTok to justify being at 245. Snap and Twitter, I don't know if they've been. I mean, first off, Twitter to me is not. I love the stock, but it hasn't quite been acting as well as Snap in the last week in terms of like since that most recent sell off, but. Those two companies are going to be interesting ones to watch because I don't know if they're already starting to act like they're not going to get TikTok, but if either of those get TikTok, like I could see those companies being up 40% a day. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen.
Both. Or if TikTok's banned, like we talked about yesterday, they pop from that news too. So,
yeah, I guess
Twitter
the question is
right now with the election coming up, regardless.
Well, what about Oracle?
this-
Do they still have a chance at getting this thing?
I don't see that
Are they
happening.
the sleeper? Like, is there another sleeper that nobody's talking about that could come
I
in
don't
and
think so.
get TikTok? That
I don't think so.
no,
Facebook.
I mean, of
I don't
all the
think Facebook-
companies, Oracle has been acting the best when you throw in all the charts. Like today, Oracle's up $2.50. I don't know why.
Well, let's make some money and enjoy your Friday, everybody. We'll see you Monday.
Yeah,
Subscribe to the Rolland Market Mashup on YouTube.
thanks for watching, guys.
Take care.
Dad, before I click end broadcast here, Oracle ticker is that ORCL?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, that actually.